Yeah, you are. How you doing?
Good. I was like heading incline, and then you're like, I'm on. I'm like, let me catch my breath. Like, but I don't want to take up your time. It was nothing urgent. I was just trying to pick your brain on I feel like we have equity in our house, and I would like to start seeing like what our next moves are for my husband and I.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what's in the books is kind of like buying in Nevada, like in Clark County, the surroundings of Vegas, and just saying like what your opinion is. Like we want more into I want more into
hmm
the asset part. But I just need to know.
What do you
I mean, you're.
mean by more in the asset part?
I would like to open another door. I would like to know how to like that happens. Like, what's the next step? Like, we've been here 7 years, and I would like to start owning more in my heart.
So
Um,
when you say owning more, you mean like a rental property in Nevada or to move to Nevada?
a rental property in Nevada.
Got it. Okay. And you got equity in your house and you're thinking about leveraging that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The A lot of people come to me with that idea about using the equity in their house. And what you've got to keep in mind is right now that equity is kind of locked up because you can sell the house, and you're basically pulling the plug on the whole loan arrangement that you have on your house. I'm assuming that it's not free and clear, right?
No. No.
Right. So the second you tap that equity, you're tapping that equity at today's, interest rates, right? So you got one of a few options. One is you take out a home equity line of credit against that. So you're borrowing that value at today's interest rates. And then you got your mortgage, and then you've got basically a second mortgage just for the equity. And you got to look at that and say, okay, well, if I borrow that money, is it, going to be something that I can, leverage and get more than what I have to pay in interest back on it? A lot of people right
Hmm.
now, that's not the case because let's just say, like, for example, just put it out there. You were to take out $1 million equity, right? Home equity line of credit for that. Which basically a home equity, you can do a home equity line of credit or you can do a home equity loan, either
Hmm.
one. And in either case, I mean, it's still like interest payments. And you go and buy $1 million house with it. Does the amount of cash flow from the rent on that $1 million house outpace the interest that you're paying on that thing? Meaning the $1 million, the debt service on that $1 million, is it more or less than, your rent and your cash flow? If your cash flow is greater, then sure, sounds like a good plan. You can do that. I mean, you're fully leveraged, don't get me wrong, but you're making more than you're losing on it.
Hmm.
Yeah. But most people, that home equity
Hmm.
line of credit is only enough for usually like a down payment or something like that. And then they have to get, a mortgage for the remainder of the house. So you take the mortgage for the remainder of the house plus your home equity line for the down payment, and you stack both of those together, then your cash flow starts to get really tight to negative. So for most people right now, it just
Hmm.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you analyze the deal and you find that there's a way that that can make sense, and you personally can tolerate the risk, meaning you got to be able to handle rainy days, you got to be able to handle vacancy, you got to be able to pay for repairs, evictions, legal costs, all that other stuff that goes with owning a place. And you also got to
Hmm.
keep in mind that you're not going to be able to buy that other house with that low down payment option that you get as a primary owner, right? As a primary residence. You're not getting a 5% down FHA on it. You have to buy that as a non owner occupied home. You're talking like a 20% down payment on that puppy. So after you've sunk your
Yeah.
20% into it, then you
Hmm.
still need to have money for the rainy day on top of that. So it gets kind of dicey.
Hmm. Gotcha. Do you have like any opinion if my mom and myself like into something together or my sister, like do you have an opinion of going with like other co-family members?
Yeah, I would recommend not doing it because family and business never mix. That's just,
Okay.
man, it's just age old wisdom. I mean, it's the gospel. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
the
Okay.
only the only way I would ever do that is if you and your family members are all very well to do, and this deal that you go in
Mm-hmm.
on together is just, I mean, it's just pocket change, you know? Like
Gotcha.
if me and my brothers were both, cash millionaires and we were sitting pretty and we wanted to go in on a $20,000 boat together,
Mm-hmm.
if something happened and one of us ended up having to eat the whole cost of that boat, I'd be like, it sucks,
Mm-hmm.
but you get me on the next one. You know what I mean? It's like to that,
Mm-hmm.
ratio, it's like just covering dinner. But when it's
Yeah.
something that can completely bury the both of you if it goes south, that
Mm-hmm.
thing is going to shadow your family relationship, and like there's nothing
Yeah.
in the world that's worth doing that, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. What do you think with other agents?
Oh man.
A
Well, you're
little
talking about
risky.
biz you're talking about
Yeah.
choosing a good business partner, like whether they're an agent or not, I think is not really so relevant. I think it's a
Okay.
matter of what's this person's track record, what's your
Okay.
track record, and again, like what's the scope of this thing? Like, can
Okay.
we afford to to go into this risk together? Like for example, Jay Johnson. I would do a deal with Jay Johnson in a minute. He's my brother from another mother. The reason I say that is because he's done partnered with tons of people on deals many times, and he always performs, and he's super cool, and he's smart, he's effective, he's a good executive, but he also doesn't stress. And for me, if I'm going to get in on a deal with somebody, they have to be like that because that's the way I am. But
Mm-hmm.
had I not seen him do all that with other people and know what he's like firsthand as a business partner, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
feel confident to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but I know his track
Mm-hmm.
record. And even so, again, I wouldn't get into something that could crush either one of us because that pressure would, it would be too much
Mm-hmm.
to bear. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Okay.
would look at it that way. So I don't love it. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
most people are very good judges of character when it comes to picking a business partner.
Mm-hmm.
That's like picking a spouse. How many of us get it wrong? Um, and then, can you weather that divorce if it doesn't work out right?
Yeah. Yeah. True. I get
Hmm.
that. Thank you. I was like, I need to pick your brain on this just, to see how things look. And I could have
Yeah.
gone to my father-in-law. He does very well. They own like 13 properties out there, but it's in Michigan, like the outskirts of like Detroit. And I
Mm.
mean, they live off of that. They do very well in life. And I'm like, I know that that's the way in, but I also have to like know like what do I need to do to get myself there. But that's the
Yeah.
goal. Yeah. But just like
Yeah.
my clients, I'm picturing myself.
Yeah.
So just seeing
Owning
how it
real
goes.
estate like that, like being a landlord, is not like owning stocks, having a 401k. A lot of people think it is, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'll just own a bunch of houses and I'll get rich and I'll make mailbox money. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
have property managers, you have to
Mm-hmm.
manage your managers. You have to manage your assets. Your managers are going to come to you constantly with business decisions
Mm-hmm.
like, should I continue to rent to these people? Yes or no? Like, are you willing to put up the money for me to legally evict these people? Are you willing to fight this thing in court? Or, like, hey, I want to do these repairs and upgrade this house so we can increase our rents. You have to look at those numbers. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly like analyzing your portfolio and thinking, all right, do I liquidate these, do I acquire new properties? Do I trade these in on something else? As a,
Mm-hmm.
as an owner in real estate and a landlord, you really are a business owner because this is, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it is an active job. I mean, it's not like you're out there swinging hammers or anything, but you have to be obsessed with your portfolio of homes and you have to be prepared to deal with all the drama of managing your managers. And when you manage managers, you're also sort of managing the tenants too through the managers because they're going to bring
Mm-hmm.
situations like they're going to be a firewall for you to a certain degree, but some of
Mm-hmm.
that bullshit's going to rise to your level. Just like a CEO of any company, His managers are going to manage the employees, but some of that employee drama is going to have to go above the managers and land on your desk. So you got to be prepared for that. If that's a life you want to live for the
Mm-hmm.
paycheck that you're getting, then by all
Mm-hmm.
means go for it. But if that kind of stuff just, keeps you up at night, and it honestly it keeps me up at night, then maybe
Yeah.
it's not for you.
Yeah. I'm okay being kept up at night. Like, just no equity on me, please. Like, I'm telling you, this is like the time to grind. This is like right now that there's this amazing president in the office. Like, this is a time to like level up, and I thrive off of people like
Yeah.
high achievers. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I gotta go up. I gotta go up. He's telling me, and everybody else, go
Hmm.
up. You know. So it's like, I'll get there. You
Yeah.
know.
I think
Okay.
you got to look at it like a snowball and ask yourself, like, what's the smallest way that I can get this snowball going? Like, what's the pea, what's the pebble that I can put down and get rolling to make this thing happen right now? For me,
What
when
do
it
you?
came to investing in real estate, was buying a house as an owner occupant, waiting till the market improved, moving out of it, buying a second home and renting the first one out. And by renting the first one out, like I waited until the first one would cash flow above what my mortgage would be. And for some people that's a 7 year, 8 year, maybe even 10 year
Mm-hmm.
wait after you move in. And that's an
Mm-hmm.
easy way, natural way for anybody to get moving, right? And cool. At that point, like when you very first do that, you'll begin to cash flow a little bit because you'll be probably be self-managing, and then you'll make
Mm-hmm.
some mistakes. So your cash flow is going to get sent right back into vacancies. It's going to get sent right back into repairs. It's going to get,
Mm-hmm.
sent right back into, some marketing fees and stuff like that. And you'll run that for a while, and then if you do it good for a couple of years, you might actually start to accrue a little bit of a cream. You might put a little bit of cash on the side. You're like, wow, this is actually starting to not only pay the mortgage, but I'm actually starting to, make a little bit of money on this. And if
Mm-hmm.
if you do that and maybe your job is going well, maybe you can scoop together enough money for a down payment on a
Mm-hmm.
new, like maybe something small like a condo somewhere, or like what you're talking about, like a tiny home in another area like in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
If you can buy a house
Mm-hmm.
out there for like 300,000, it's a $60,000 down payment, 10 grand in closing costs. If you can scrape together, $70,000, and you find a
Mm-hmm.
place that, has pretty decent numbers,
Mm-hmm.
you might need to put more than 70 down. You might need to go more like 40% down in order for it to cash flow. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You save up, you get
Okay.
another 140,000, right? And then you do it again. And what some people do also is, you can find some creative ways to, like, if you could do a cash out refinance on your first rental property,
Mm-hmm.
um, you'll pay a higher mortgage on that on that first rental property, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going to basically wipe out your cash flow, but you can borrow enough money out of that to put for the down payment on a second place, and then your second place might just barely squeak by with cash flow. But over time, the rents will go up and you'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to start accumulating, some
Mm-hmm.
cash on top of that. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
slow go, but then you do that again. And then the next time you do it, it'll be a little bit faster. And the next time you do it, it'll be faster and faster. And next thing you know, it'll take you 15 years to get to your second unit, but then it'll only take you 7 years to get to your third, 3 years to get to your
Mm-hmm.
fourth, 2 years to get to your fifth. And next thing you know, you're the guy with
Okay.
13 units and you're living off the money.
Well, that's cool. Okay.
That's
Yeah, I
just,
just have a
that's
goal
one
of
way.
yeah, I would like a goal for to pay this one off by the time I'm 60.
Hmm.
That's it looks like that's like the time I'll pay it off. I mean, I'm 45 now, so
Yeah.
unless I do better in life with this real estate stuff. I did get mailers, so mailers are being sent out to two subdivisions, the ones right here, the condos. Um
The
I paid
Lindsay.
like yeah, I paid like $10 for 100 and something addresses. And then I went on Wise Pelican and I bought like postcards like, "Hey, I'm your neighbor, realtor, blah blah," and those should be going out to that subdivision. And then right down
Hang
the
on one
street, like,
second. Hang on.
oh,
So you've
oh, you're typing this up. I'm sorry.
yeah, I keep track of all this stuff. So you got mailers secured. How much were they per mailer?
Um, for the first subdivision, I paid $95.
And how many mailers was that?
It's gonna be 99. It was like a dollar a mailer.
Okay,
Yeah,
99.
or 94, 94, 99. Yeah. Whatever it was like a dollar, 97 cents each.
I'm gonna say times 99. Okay, and then what else you got
The
to say?
second subdivision I did, like a mile away from me, that was $185. So it's like about 184 addresses.
Okay. Is it just those two subdivisions?
Just those two for now, just to, get me contact. And I think I'm gonna send them like a different flyer, like 1 month yes, 1 month no, 1 month yes, 1 month no. And probably if and once business gets better, I can do more addresses or whatever that is. Or I might do another address here or there. So I kind of want to keep hitting the same location for a bit.
Yeah, you need to stick with it for 6 months to a year for it to pay
Yeah,
off.
yeah. So kind of just want to hit these two up, and one of them is like they're both walking distance, but one I'll be there like in 1 minute, and the other one if I walk is like 15 minutes.
Are these apartments or houses?
Condos, for one. That means somebody's upstairs, somebody's downstairs, and the other one are townhouses. We're inside their houses up 2 levels.
Beautiful. And you said Pelican was a service that you use?
Why is Pelican?
Why is Pelican? And how come you
Mhm.
chose them?
I started looking into them like a year ago, and then I had like a video visit with one of the guys, and I just like what they do. And it was really easy.
Cool.
It was just like buy addresses, here you go. Like, and you can circle it or you can, do that Pelican circle. You buy
Hmm.
the addresses and then you just go, all your stuff is already filtered in. You pick a template that you like, and I just liked it. You can do a
Okay.
monthly service for 4.99, but the guy is like, "You're not there yet, so why don't you just buy a couple of addresses and then start like that of what you can afford?" And I was like, "Okay." But if in time I get good, when I get good, I then that's when I can do that 4.99 mailer maybe.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully, but
goals.
nowhere near that right now. I'm not doing
Yeah. What I can tell you with these types of things is the phone will ring and it's going to ring at strange and
it.
crazy times. So,
Mm-hmm.
what's really helpful is for you to have a script committed to memory or carry one in your pocket. And when that phone call happens, pull the car over, answer it, and then be prepared to go write down the script of, great, what made you call? Great, how long have you lived in the area? Great, what's so interesting about blah, 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 blah. And it needs to be like so like easy for you to recall that you got to keep in mind that when these people call you, they are like, they're half in, you know what I mean? They're like, they probably saw your stuff for a long time before they were like, all right, let me just give this guy a call. And in their mind, they're like most of the way sure that you're full of shit and they're just gonna like their fingers like on the hang up button. And
Mm-hmm.
if they call you and it doesn't seem like you know exactly who they are and you've been waiting for their phone call and you're excited to take it, like it's gonna end terribly. No
Mm-hmm.
one wants to call and be like, "What are you calling about?" It's like, dude, you mailed me, man. Like you're supposedly interested in my property. You sent me
Mm-hmm.
6 mailers and you don't know who I am. They don't know that
Mm-hmm.
you sent out a mailer to 100 people. They think you just sent it to them. So
Mm-hmm.
and so part of that script is like, also talking through that, be like, hey, I mean, full transparency, I did send out, several on your block. Can you just remind me real quick what your address is? And then we can go from there in a very polite and genuine way. And then
Yeah.
you gotta get right to business too, because when they're on the phone with you, every second feels like their hand is on a hot burner. So if you're kicking around and wasting their time, like they get really impatient real quick. So you need
Okay.
to like move it along and get to your point and either make that appointment or give them numbers that really matter to them. And just
Mm-hmm.
you gotta really respect their time. And if you do that, you'll have a lot of success. Most of these wholesalers, they fuck that part up.
So Matt, when I think you already told me, so when somebody asks me for their home value, I just go on the title company, put their address in, and it spits it out, right? It generates it. I mean, obviously I'm doing my comps too, but is that the way I'm doing it, or is there something else that you recommend to do?
If they're asking you about their home's value,
Yeah.
I mean, you can take a quick look at, the Zestimates and stuff like that, if
Mm-hmm.
they're really pressing you for a number on the spot. But
Mm-hmm.
what you want to do is you want to ask them what they think their value is at. And
Okay.
then and here's a strategy for this. This is for all listing agents. This one's a little bit trickier because you're sending out mailers and they want to know what their value is over the phone before they even consider talking to you. Because like
Mm-hmm.
if they think it's 700 and you're like, dude, I know people that'll buy your place for 1 million today.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're within $100,000 plus or minus, that
Mm-hmm.
number is like boom, way more than what they wanted. Now they're
Mm-hmm.
willing to continue the conversation with you. But
Mm-hmm.
if they're like, well, you tell me how much it's worth. You called me. If you give me a number I like, I might talk to you. And if you don't have even the fucking foggiest idea what the
Mm-hmm.
values are, then they're going to hang up because they think that you're full of it. So
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is, I mean, you can quickly look at Zestimate and be like, all right, well, I mean, ballpark, it looks like your place might go for mid 800s or whatever it is. But
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to really give you a precise number, I need to see what the inside of the house is like, or maybe you can describe it for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then talk about upgrades. Does it have a view? Like is there any damage? How many people live in the house? Like, what's it going to look like if we list it? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we're going to we're going to like make this simpler. We're going to put this into two camps, right? So let's just say that we weren't getting a phone call back from a mailer that we sent out. Say we were just talking to a listing lead. Somebody got referred to us or something like that. And they're like, well, I'd like to know what my house is worth. The traditional line of dialogue for a listing agent would be like, great. In order for me to give you that number, I just need to stop by the house and take a quick look around, get an idea of the interior, upgrades, and things like that. Maybe 15 minutes, and I can generate a really accurate number for you. When's a good time to come by and see it? And most
Okay.
people, if they're serious about listing their house, they'll be like, 10 or 15 minutes, you can give me a real number, no pressure. Okay, cool. You set the appointment. And then when you get to the appointment, that's when you try to close the listing. Say, hey, this is what I offer, this is what I can do. Let's go ahead and sign this listing agreement. That's when you really try to secure the deal, like in a traditional sense. I don't do that, but that's the way, right?
Yeah.
Now, in your situation, when you're calling out mailers, you don't have somebody who's necessarily at that very low point of the funnel like you would if a referral called you and they're like pretty sure that they're going to sell because they need to move and stuff like that. You're talking to a person who might be convinced to sell because you sent them a mailer and maybe they're thinking, huh, I wonder if I can make enough money, maybe I would.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what they're asking about is, well, what could you list my house for? And maybe that can get me moving. So you have to like close that gap a lot further in one phone call. Is they're primarily interested in the number and they haven't really thought much about the moving process.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to want to give them some kind of a number to start with, but then say, but that number could change. That number could go way up if the house looks like I think it looks. But
Mm-hmm.
don't quote me on it. Just give me 5 minutes at the house, and I'll be able to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much on the spot what it goes for, and then get them to let you come over and quote them for it. And they're not expecting a listing presentation when you do that. They're not expecting you to bring them an agreement and talk about your services and stuff like that. When you say, "Hey, I just need to see it for 5 minutes," they're expecting that you're going to come by, look at it, and give them a number.
And
And
give them a
so
number.
you might not be able to land that listing
Mhm.
like on the spot there. You might have to follow that back up with one or two more phone calls or something like that.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I'm not going to keep you any longer because I know I got to clock in too. But what was my next question? Oh, when you do take a listing agreement, Matt, are you taking it pre-filled or are they like you just like go over it and then they just sign and then you go and fill it in?
What I Everybody's got a different way of doing this, but it's got a lot to do with what your relationship and what your like agreement is with these people in the first place. So say for example, like we'll put it into a spectrum. The
Uh-huh.
like the best case scenario would be like they're like, "Hey, I want to sell my house. I want to sell it with you, and we just need to figure out price, timeline, and commission." And you're like, "Cool, I'll be over there on Saturday." I'm
Mm-hmm.
coming over there on Saturday with a listing agreement, just a blank one printed out. And I'm going over there and I'm going over with my CMA and we're going to talk about what the house is valued once I get there. We're going to talk about when they need to sell it. And then based on what they want to sell it for, how easy it's going to sell, and how much I like them, or maybe how much I'm competing with other agents, we'll talk about the commission. And then I, I will agree with them about a commission, a timeline, and a price. Those are the three things you have to have before you conclude that meeting: commission, timeline, and price. And
Mm-hmm.
then if I have those and they shake my hand, I'm going to go home. I'm going to type it up in zip forms. I'm going to send it to DocuSign because we're not cave people. If they're much, much older and they prefer pen to paper, like I'll whip one right out on the spot and I'll have them sign it on the spot if they're more comfortable with that. But as time goes on, you're getting less and less people who want to sign documents by hand. Even
Okay.
even like even high Gen X boomers right now, I've got that just want a DocuSign because they just like I just want to click.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a situation where if you don't get it signed on the spot and you walk out that door, they're going to kick the can and change their mind and call other people. If you just get that feeling that they're like on the verge and know you need to close it, then whip out the pen and get them to sign on the spot before you walk out that door. Because if you walk out that door, by the time you go to send them a DocuSign, you know they're just going to ghost you.
Mm. And it's just a blank form and then I just upload it and fill everything else in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
Okay.
listing form is in your zip forms. It's
Yeah.
the RLA residential listing agreement. There's
Yeah.
a there's some other documents and addendums and stuff like that that go along with it, but as long as you have the RLA, just get that signed. You can catch all the other stuff up later.
Okay.
I wouldn't bring over the RLA with like 10 different addendums attached to it, on the spot because that might overwhelm them. I'll just get them to sign the RLA. And then afterwards, I'm
Okay.
like, oh, by the way, we need the disclosures and all this other stuff that goes with it.
Okay.
Affiliated business arrangement and, you know, rent back forms and all this other crap. Just try to make it as easy as possible to get them to commit to
Mm-hmm.
price, timeline, commission.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And all this is in my listing mastery
Mhm.
section too.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think I'm good for
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
Uh,
Mom. Good
yeah.
info session. I wish other people were on here to listen to it. Oh, but it's
Yeah.
recorded,
It's
right?
recorded, so it'll be there for the world forever. The Going back to the transactions, I did get that check for that
Mm-hmm.
the deal you just closed, but I believe they need to send that check to EXP, not me sending it to EXP, correct?
I
Did
don't know.
did you get your check sent straight to you from escrow?
Yeah, because I didn't have my direct deposit set up.
Okay. I'll get on EXP World today and I'll talk to the powers that be and see
Yeah.
because I just
I
had to
just
fix it for two other transactions. I had to get a mailing address for them to mail the check to EXP for the one that me and Tawanda just closed. And then I had a referral that was sent to EXP for some clients that I had buy a house in Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave a copy of the check and stuff, but I needed to create a transaction in SkySlope for them to
Mm-hmm.
process it. So I did that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
two out of the three. Yours, I'll contact them today and figure out how to manage that so it all gets done.
Yeah, and then I'll send an email to whoever was messaging me. They're really good. EXP is like on top of it. I know that. Like as soon as you're
Yeah.
closing a transaction, their transaction team's like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're so friendly.
Oh
So
yeah, they're
yeah,
nicest.
they're amazing people. So I'll email the whoever I've been talking to with this past transaction to say, hey, like going forward, like I just want to make sure everything's good. But
Yeah.
going forward, how do I just want to make sure my direct deposit's good. I thought I updated it, maybe it just didn't take effect fast enough. So
Yeah.
I assume that's why I got to check.
Yeah, it's possible. We'll figure it out together. Like I've
Yeah.
historically had TCs that manage Sky Slope and do all that as part of their routine, but every
Mm-hmm.
transaction coordinator chooses to do a different subset of all the stuff that you need. I've got some transaction coordinators that will like manage your email and also send out
Mm-hmm.
offers for you and things like that on top of
Mm-hmm.
just their transaction duties, and maybe they don't touch the transaction stuff like through SkySlope. And I've had other ones where they'll do everything even through SkySlope, but they're like, "Hey, I won't generate forms for you to sign or touch your email." It's like they all have like a different range of things that they're willing to do. So
Mm-hmm.
every time you change TCs, you have to like alter your administrative processes a little bit or pay them more if you wanted to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try to see how so far this Sophia girl, she did pretty well. She was on top of it. The only thing I did not like is I didn't know like her office hours and like she's like on the clock till 5. And just being used to whistle people, they're like on the clock,
Yeah.
So when she's off and then she doesn't work weekends. So that's kind of like where I felt like, ugh.
Yeah.
But I would probably, try her out again before I try somebody else out, see how it goes.
You'll find most transaction coordinators are that way because
Oh, okay.
they literally sit in front of their email all day long
Yeah.
and just wait for messages to pop up. So
Got
to do that 8 hours a day is enough, but to do that
Mhm.
12, 16 hours a day is
Yeah.
maddening.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good thing if you don't put them on a spot to be like that. And you'll notice that I tell Tawanda all the time. She's like, "Oh, this thing needs to happen." I'm like, "It can happen in the morning." She's like, "But." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. Nothing
Okay.
in real estate happens in the middle of the night. Just let the agent know what's happening, and then in
Hmm.
the morning, your TC will pick it up. We're gonna be fine. Just let them do their thing." And you have to learn to put things like in order, expecting that something's not going to happen until the morning. So you're like, wait a second, I can't touch this until the if I don't do this today before business hours, it won't get touched until tomorrow morning. So let's prioritize this so my TC can get it today, so it's done.
Hmm.
And then you schedule the other stuff that's not TC related for
Hmm.
after you bang out that admin stuff. So you just learn to work inside that constraint, and it doesn't take long to get used to it.
Okay.
Same with
Yeah.
escrow. You're not going to get escrow to do anything at 7 o'clock at night. Like, why would you?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
Real quick,
Yeah.
we were going to look at the modules for transaction management and the escrow tracker in school. Did you do that?
No, I was sick, man. And then I had the holiday. I did
Okay.
not. But I promise you, I did come back to like reread this to see like the other day, like maybe on Sunday, I was like, what do I have
Mm,
to do on here? And then I just got sidetracked doing other things like maybe researching,
mhm.
addresses or whatever I was gonna do. But I did come in here to just to make sure I was like, what else did he want me to do here? And I read your notes. There was one note. I was like, get out of your head or something. Oh yeah, where was it? You need to get out of
Yeah.
your head.
Need to
That's
get
what.
out of your head and
I was
call
like,
your.
dang, he's so detailed about my journal. I
Well,
was
in
like,
on that note, did you make any of the calls to your sphere?
I did not. No.
I'm leaving that one in red.
Okay, leave it in red.
Yep.
No. Okay. I
And
did
did
not.
you update your profile on social media?
Not yet. Nothing. I haven't done anything yet. I
I
just met
didn't
with
do
you last
nothing.
week.
See, that
Met
is
with
why
you the
we,
day I got sick, and then like for the past the next 2 days, your girl was out, and I was like out for like 2 or 3 days out of commission. I was like, go figure that I would get sick like on a vacation from Kaiser. I had
Mhm.
like 5 days off, and I spent a lot of the time sick.
That sucks.
It sucked a lot, but I'm taking a couple of days off at the end of the month just to recuperate and just enjoy a little bit of the summer and get
Hmm.
work done too you know
Yeah, dude. If you want to live a long life, you got to treat it like a marathon, not a sprint.
yeah.
You got to build in you got to build in water cups. You know what I mean? Like some people are like, I just got to plow, 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 and it's like, dude, even marathon runners like will drift off to the side of the course and grab a water cup. You know what I mean? Like,
I am so nonchalant. I just know things are like if I put in 1% of something a day, I'm like it's gonna get there. Even my weight right now. Okay, I let myself go in the past year, but I just know as long as I show up for myself daily, then overall it just adds up to progress.
yep,
So I just say slow progress is. I'm still moving. I'm still learning. I'm educating
mhm,
myself every freaking day. Like big
yep.
brain. I'm telling you, I'm attracted to high achievers. I don't watch dumbed down TV. I tell my daughter, she's like, I don't like that you say that. And I do. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, okay, now I can watch my Bachelor and Bachelorette at night, or I'm multitasking doing something while I'm
Mhm.
watching a show. It's like if I'm watching comedy, I usually try to watch comedy a
It's
lot of this
it's
stuff.
mental junk food, it's just meant to distract you,
Yeah.
that's it. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it in moderation, but
Yeah.
when you're taking in 4 to 6 hours of that shit a day, it's like,
Hmm.
dude, you're killing yourself.
I'm either listening to some type of podcast, like I told Doug, my husband earlier, I was like, I said, babe, I listened to a lot of Matt's old content. Like, where was he back then? And I was like, because I'm very proud of you.
Thank
You're
you.
where I would want to be. It's like that's how I want to live comfortable and be like, all right, everything's done. Anything else I do is, just to give back. And I'm really just if I make money, Matt, is really for me to give back in better ways. Like what can I where can I serve? It's like you can only have like as much as you can for yourself, but materials don't bring me
Mhm.
joy. It's really like let me get my assets going and just be able to help where I want to help out.
That's it, man. I want to make
Um,
money to do things. I don't want to make money just to have stuff. Like,
mm-mm.
I think about having a high level of income so I can not worry
Yeah.
about having to go do something
Mhm.
like if I decide I don't want to work with a client because they're going to bring me down,
Yep.
having enough money in the bank account gives me the ability to say no.
Exactly.
Or if I got a client that's like they can barely make it to buy a place and they need help with closing costs or whatever, I want to be able to
Yeah.
take on that deal and just
Yeah.
give up a huge
Yeah.
chunk, if not all of my commission, just like, here
Mhm.
you go, don't worry about it, just to
Yep.
get them in. That's
Yeah.
that to me is like what the money brings for me. Or if I can make enough money to buy a boat, that means
Hmm.
fishing trips. And fishing trips means stories and memories and like
Hmm.
fondness to look back on. To me, that's going out on the water and being closer with nature and, enjoying all of this wonderful world God made. It's
Hmm.
exploring and, like taking a deeper dive into, what the world has to offer. It's not like, oh, I got a boat, look at me. I'm, yacht rich.
Hmm.
Fuck.
Exactly. No. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
taking people out on it, taking kids out on it, and letting them have their first memories on the ocean, like
Hmm.
that's the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I felt good that on 4th of July, I went to go meet my sisters in San Clemente for lunch, and it felt good just for me to say, hey, I have it, because I feel I put myself in a comfortable position right now to say, okay, it's not much in my check, but it's like, okay, I can treat my family out to eat, and not feel like I can't. So it
Mm.
felt nice that I can do that. And now I'm trying to book my mom. She doesn't know. I'm trying to book my mom a massage at this spa right there in Irvine. It's like she can spend 3 to 4 hours there. She's a caregiver for my 93-year-old grandmother. And I
Woo!
just texted my sister earlier and I said, hey, can you like watch grandma so I can pay for mom to get a massage? That's gonna be like $300 to $400. But just to
Mm-hmm.
say that I can do that for my mom, like it made me feel good, you know? So it's like just the reasons I can give back. You know, my mom works hard for grandma and I can't help. I'm here with this career.
Yeah.
And then I want to walk out, I have another career and I still gotta be a wife and I still gotta be a mom. You know, I still need to be me. And I'm like, ah. So I contribute, I deposit in every little thing I can, 1%. But right now, my main focus is me, my health, you know, my physique, you know,
Mm-hmm.
my mental health, my spiritual health, and yeah, my career. It matters a lot, you know.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then I'm
Exactly.
surrounded myself with people like that, you know, with like you know, I can only grow from here. Like, come on now. I was
You
like, I'm
will.
not surrounding myself with, I'm surrounding myself with people who I want to be like, you know.
Yeah. The important thing is you're showing up, and like you said, you're putting pennies in the buckets. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be dollars. You're putting what you got,
Yeah.
That's all
Hmm.
it takes. I
Yeah.
got these other guys that, they don't show up, and then when they show up, they're like, oh yeah, I had all week long. I didn't do the one simple thing you asked for all week long. I'm like, you're not. It's not that you're not showing up for me. You're not showing up for you.
Yeah. For you. Yeah. Yeah.
Your future self is just like, tapping his fingers on the desk, like, damn, you set
Yeah.
me up for failure, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So just trying to put little systems into place and show up, you know, with whatever I have with my means, you know. And I'm like, don't make it
Mhm.
so bigly. You can just do these two subdivisions. You're okay. And then
That's
once it gets better, yeah.
plenty,
Yeah, I was
plenty.
like, I don't have to be like this, you know. So I was like, start off small. And what I like is all my open houses have been here in Oceanside. So
Oh, so lovely.
unity, you know, and I'm like, hey, I'm your fellow neighbor. Like, even if you're not in the market, you know, please keep me in mind. And this past open house I did on Saturday, like everybody had just moved into the community, bought their house within 15 months. Like, I was like, okay. And, you know, this one chick, she's like, oh, I'm from Orange County and
Yeah,
she's from Tustin and I'm from Tustin. And we had that connection. Her husband's from San Diego. My husband's from San Diego. We both bought in the middle. So we had
yeah,
that connection. I was like, hey, I'm your fellow sister out there. I was like, your neighbor, and you know, also from Orange County. I was like, keep me in mind. And she's like, that's so awesome. So, you know, just
yeah.
making connections here. So if they see me at the grocery store, it's like my face is becoming familiar out here, you know.
Love
So
that
yeah, I like it too. But anyhow, I
recognition.
won't keep you. I'll start working. And thank you so much, man, again for your time.
My
Okay.
pleasure, as always.
You be good. Take care.
You too. We'll see you, Lee.
Bye.